Hi everyone, Linda Heldman here for Canadian Beats. I have with me on the phone today week 3 winners of the launch, The Static Shift. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
So your single Wide Awake launched at 10 o'clock on Wednesday night, and the media frenzy began. How are you doing with it all?
Well, we can tell you, Linda, it's been quite the whirlwind, but it's been really exciting. And this opportunity to deliver Wide Awake and, just our name, the Static Shift's name, to a wider audience, it's been an unbelievable opportunity.
I can imagine. I have to say, I love your style, like your clothing style on stage, and your sound and your stage presence. The outfit you wore for the performance, I absolutely love.
Well, thank you very much.
It was great. So let's talk a bit about the process. You came on with your audition, and you selected Free by the band Mr. Big. What was it about the song that made you choose it for your audition?
Just for clarification, Linda, it's actually Mr. Big by Free.
Oh,
sorry.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
I messed it up. My apologies. So, okay, and anyway, what was your
That's all right, man.
Yeah, but that song, that's been in our repertoire for a long time, and it's Mitchell and I got a free record one day when we went to the record store, and that song was on it. It's a live recording, and we've loved it ever since, and we learned it not too long after I got that record, and something we've always been comfortable with, and it always usually appears in our set lists. So when we had to choose what songs we wanted to play on the audition, we decided to go with that just because we were really comfortable with it, but it's also a song where we can showcase that we're kind of loosey-goosey, but we're also a tight band as well,
Mm-hmm.
And it's also one of those songs, everybody knows All Right Now by Free. All Right Now. But honestly,
Exactly.
Free has some unbelievable other songs, and when we heard Mr. Big, we were like, whoa, we could do something really funky with this, man.
Great.
And I think when we are covering a song, we tend to like to choose songs that are sort of like less popular, kind of like the deep cuts of band, just because that way you can kind of make it your own. I mean, if you're doing like a band's like number one song, you kind of want to stay true to it because everybody is going to know it and everybody's going to want to sing along to it. But if you're doing something people don't really know, you can kind of play with it a bit.
That's right. Put your own spin on it, which I'm finding is happening a lot with this series.
Yeah, for sure.
Being the rocker guys you are, what was it like to have Nikki Sixx there as one of your mentors?
Oh, man. Well, we can tell you, it was really cool. When we heard that, he was going to be mentoring us on the episode, we were really shocked. And holy cow, when you step out and he's right in front of you, when you're in front of the guy, he's pretty intimidating at first because, other than his fantastic smile, but he's got lots of tattoos and his hair is up there, and you kind of feel like, hey man, maybe this guy could maybe beat me up, but but at the end of the day, when he starts talking, all those guys are just, they're people like us, and it was fantastic to meet them, to have a conversation with them.
And get to know them beyond what you see in media.
Yeah, and Nikki Sixx likes and shares our posts and stuff. He really digs us, which is fantastic.
Well, he really is a completely different person than you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he's changed over the years because, if you look back at Mötley Crüe and some of the stuff they went through, you would be like, what? Who is this guy now? So it was really cool to be able to connect with him through the show.
And Dann Huff, wow. This guy's produced everybody.
You're right. Yeah, over 50 albums that he's worked on that have gone to number one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's wild, you know? Amazing experience.
Yeah, and it was cool working with him too, just because his mind is just all over the place, and he was really good at coming up with parts and whatnot on the spot, because obviously we didn't have much time. So
Mm-hmm.
it would, it really was an honor.
Oh, sorry.
Dan was probably like one of the kindest and sweetest people I've ever met. He was such a nice guy. He's so easy to talk to. He has like no ego at all. He was amazing.
Was it a little nerve-wracking knowing that you had 48 hours from the time you auditioned to be recording and then performing it all?
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking because usually we, you know, if we write a song or get a song in the repertoire, we, you know, it takes us a couple practices to kind of get it comfortable, and then we kind of have a few days to digest it. But since this was such a 48-hour rushed period, you know, you got to put yourself in a different mental space, and you got to go, okay, how can we do this right now and right here? Because there isn't a lot of time, and you really have to kind of, pardon me, but you got to cut the crap and just go for it.
Mm-hmm. And especially with the vocals, Mitchell, I mean, you're there. It was just warm water you were drinking, right? It wasn't tea?
Yeah, it was just tea and honey. That was really the fixer right there.
Just to lubricate those pipes and keep the voice going.
Absolutely. And, you know, it was a bit of a challenge at some points because, you know, us not having written the lyrics to that song, it was a lot more than what we have written in the past. And so it was a lot for me to take in at some points, but, you know, it grew on us so fast, and we're really excited about that.
Mm-hmm. So when you first heard the song Wide Awake, did you go, hey, this totally fits us, we can do this? Or
Yeah, absolutely. When we all first heard it, I think right away we knew that it could be done and that we could make it our own. You know, I think that was one of the, I guess, concerns we had going into it, because obviously you have 48 hours to learn it, and you want it to be a song that you can easily connect with and play. And we were a tiny bit worried that it would be something out of our range, but right when we heard it, we were like, wow, that is something we can definitely do.
it really felt like a good fit for you guys. I loved Amy's version of it.
Absolutely. Her pipes, man, she has an unbelievable voice. Man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you're both from Calgary.
Yeah. It's interesting because before the filming of the show, we had actually played a show in Calgary with her at a local festival.
Really?
Actually, she was on stage before us.
Yeah, right before us.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's so much talent coming out of this show, and it's like, so what happens to these runner-ups? It's just it's going to be incredible to see what happens. I have to ask, when you come out on stage for your audition, and Scott says, "I have a problem. I heard you guys were messing with my guitars." What went through you? Like, was it panic? Like, oh my God, he's annoyed with us.
Yes. Instant panic for sure. But
because I think he was originally speaking to me because Mitch hadn't actually played any of his guitars yet at that point, so he's like directly calling me out. And I was like, I'm so sorry in my head because first of all, just want to clarify, someone told me I could play them. Just grab them. But then right after he kind of said that and scared the crap out of me, he'd asked me if I wanted to play it for the audition, and right away I said yes because I love that bass.
Oh, you can't be in a room full of guitars.
Pleasant surprise when they gifted us those guitars at the end of the episode. We were like, holy cow.
I know. That must have been just surreal. Like, Scott Borchetta is giving us these guitars.
Yeah.
Just
totally
crazy.
Surreal.
Just crazy. Mitchell, I know you shared this beautiful story about this gentleman at the retirement home that you work at. Just for our listeners that may not have heard that, can you share that story with us again, please?
Absolutely. So I used to work at a Canyon Meadows retirement home in Calgary, and I worked there as a dishwasher. And, you know, I saw this gentleman there, and I didn't really know who he was, but it seemed like not too many people visited him compared to lots of the other residents. And so one day I sat down with him, and he introduced himself as Mike, and we started talking music. And he told me that, you know, he moved to Calgary from England in the late 60s or early 70s, and so it blew me away that, you know, he was orientated in music, and so he told me that he has this unbelievable record collection, and I was like, holy cow. So after a shift one day I went up and we listened to blues for hours, and we just talked music, and by the end of that we were really good buddies, and he said, you know, feel free to borrow these anytime you want, like, you know, take them home and listen to them. And I asked him, you know, Mike, what do you think you might do with these records, you know, when you might not be around anymore? And Mike said, well, I'm going to donate them to a radio station here in Calgary. And I said, oh, okay. And I phoned the station and I asked them what they were going to do with those records, what they do with any donated records. And they said that they put them in a closet and they really don't play them.
Really?
And I, knowing that, it really kind of hurt me, because, like, he has an unbelievable collection, and to know that it would just be sitting in a closet someplace it's kind of torture. So, you know, I thought about it for a while, and I told the gentleman in the band that I was going to do it, and I asked Mike, would you be at all interested in, you know, possibly willing your records maybe to the band? And Mike thought about it for a couple of weeks, and he phoned me back and he said, I want to let you know I did change my will, and all of my records are going to the Static Shift.
Wow, that is so cool. And
it was cool, for sure.
Like, I think of my record collection and how, even with my parents, albums have been passed down. Like to give you an idea, back in the day, my mom had 75s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she had an original Elvis Presley Jailhouse Rock 78.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
That's
like,
crazy.
Are you partying with that? Heck no.
No. And yeah, it's like, Mike, you know, he really appreciates those records when he's here, and like, but just one day to know that they would be sitting someplace and no one would be appreciating all of that amazing music, it just... Yeah, I think it was amazing that Mike did that. And
yes.
We're extremely, extremely grateful.
That is such a cool
maybe you'll
story.
get a chance to pass it on to the next generation.
Exactly.
50 years as well. So
Yeah.
just keep them going down the line.
Definitely keeping the music alive, and there's nothing like hearing those originals on the old scratchy records.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. That's thanks for sharing that with us, Mitchell. I love that, and I just want people to hear that story because it was so wonderful to hear. Now, you ended up you did your live performance, which was absolutely amazing. The audience just really reacted well to you. You were engaging. It was just it really looked like you were the clear winners in this. And then all of a sudden you were told, I know there's this long wait process in between, but anyway, and then you're told, congratulations, you're being launched. Is that all a blur, or do you remember the whole feeling and experience?
Yeah, well, I know for me it was definitely a bit of a blur, just because, you know, it was just, you didn't really know what was going on in a sense. It was just all happening so quickly, and you didn't know what to expect. So
yeah,
it was definitely a bit of a blur for me. I faintly remember how excited I was. So, and I remember these two in the moment looked more excited when they got their guitars rather than the song being launched, just because they could relate to that more. So that was pretty funny to watch.
Hey, you two of you get guitars. Isaiah, you should have got a drum kit.
I know. I should have. He's working on it. The backstory is I got to wear, on the stage there, the shirt that I'm wearing is Nikki Sixx's shirt that I got to put on last minute, so that was mine.
Oh, wow. Treat. That's cool. I love that. How many people know that? I'm
not sure. I don't know if there's any backstory videos on that they released on that. But
it did.
Trade secret, Isaiah got to wear Nikki Sixx's shirt.
That's cool.
Actually,
I love it.
sadly, I think apparently we found out later that Nikki Sixx actually wanted Isaiah to keep that shirt, but we didn't know that, and we sadly left it on a hanger in the place where the show was shot. So someone got lucky with that.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. So you must be ecstatic as that your song is #1 on iTunes right now. That's just mind blowing.
We totally are. Like, that's something that, you know, we've kind of always dreamed of in a sense. Like, you know, putting your music out there and people actually digging it enough to, you know, get you to that point in the charts. And so, you know, we have our fans to thank and CTV for putting us on the show, and like, it's been fantastic, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great. Well, I thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy schedule this week to talk with me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Linda, for doing the interview, and we really appreciate it as well.
And I wish you guys all the best. And I'm already following you on your socials, and keep in touch, because we're all about supporting local Canadian talent, and we want to keep in contact and see what you're up to in the next several years. And what?
Yeah, we will for sure. And if you want, we have 2 full-length albums and an EP, so maybe check those out if you want to hear more of us.
Yeah, they're on Spotify, iTunes, the whole 9 yards, and they're all written by us, all original material.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Linda. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
We've been
bye-bye.
We've been speaking with Static Shift, and I am Linda Heldman for Canadian Beats.